Well, as your report indicated, sanctions hurt the most vulnerable groups in society, but rarely affect the leadership that results in a kind of way that results in policy change. And that's exactly been the case in Iran. There's been very little change in so-called behavior of the Iranian regime since sanctions were imposed 40 years ago and then tightened 10, 12 years ago. But sanctions have hampered economic growth. When they tightened in 2011, they took away a big chunk of Iran's foreign exchange earnings, dealt a real big blow to the economy. Poverty has increased, even middle class has shrunk, and it's not clear that that pain has been transmitted from the population to the leadership.
Barbara, what is your view on sanctions against a country like Iran? I mean, is there an end goal to these sanctions? And if so, has the United States and its allies, or for that matter, the United Nations as well, ever achieved those goals?
Well, I think sometimes they do work. We first have to understand that sanctions are an alternative to war, to real war, and in that sense, they are preferable. I believe sanctions can work when they have wide support, strong multilateral support, and when they have clear and achievable goals. So an example would be the UN sanctions and the US sanctions that led to the 2015 nuclear deal with Iran, the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action. I think the sanctions were instrumental in helping to get that agreement. Unfortunately, the Trump administration withdrew from this nuclear deal with nothing to replace it, and the sanctions that were reimposed have been largely unilateral, extremely punitive, with no clear objective, because we never really knew what would be considered a preferable alternative to the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action. There were a bunch of impossible demands that were placed on Iran by the Trump administration. And so these sanctions have failed. And I agree with Djavad. They have enriched the smugglers and people who are well positioned in the Iranian elite, and they have massively hurt ordinary people. So it depends. Yeah. Sometimes yes, sometimes no.